Welcome back, Chappelle. All right. First weekend, come back and love me. Anyway, sorry. This is Rufio, by the way. Rufio, say hello to the people. Hello. Who's your baby? So, anyway, sorry, he wants to sleep, but he thinks I'm too loud. Just lay down. Attaboy. All right, so, anyway, yeah, so first weekend flip, right? Really excited that we have Monday off, but we can't lose the day. All right. So a couple people were asking about test dates and stuff like that. So your tests are going to be a little bit different class to class because, thank you. All right. A little bit different class to class because of our drop schedule. All right. So the A period, D period classes are going to be taking it this coming Friday. The F period class is going to be taking it the following Monday on the 9th. All right. So AD, you're taking it on the 6th. F, taking it on the 9th. Now, we don't have much to finish up, honestly, over this week and a couple flips and your study guide, and we'll review and we'll get ready. A lot of people are coming up to me freaking out there. They're like, I don't know what's going on. All right. Well, the number one thing you got to remember is that this is y'all's first really intense actual history class in your Chappelle career. Human geography is more of a social studies class, very broad brush, right? So whereas this is a history course, okay? It all goes in chronological order, and what we're going to do is we're going to make some concept maps and stuff like that. It'll make it very easy to understand, and when we review, I'm going to be asking you questions directly off the test, all right? So breathe a sigh of relief. I'm here to help you, not here to, fail you, all right? You're going to do great. You are going to do great. All of you are going to do great, all right? So anyway, let's pick up where we left off, though. We were talking about the Persian wars, right? Well, they're not even really wars at all. The first one, right? If you don't already have this down, make sure you already have this down. It is 3 conflicts. The first one is the Ionian Revolt, right? Caused by the fact, which is right here, caused by the fact that the Persians were conquering all this different land, and they conquered some Greek colonies in a place called Ionia, right? So now, that's the first one. The second one is just going to be an invasion by Darius. The third one's going to be an invasion by his son Xerxes, right? Which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. Now, anyway, we did talk also briefly about how, there's a big difference between invasion and war, blah, blah, blah. A period, you're already further ahead than this, all right? So you can kind of just, plug in and listen and then just keep rolling, all right? And then whenever you see something you haven't seen yet, just get after it. But the first one was the Ionian Revolt, right? And I know we went over this in class already with everybody, but the Persian Empire is going to conquer these little Greek territories in a place called Ionia, right? Now, the Ionians have a direct connection with Athens, right? Because it is believed that after the Bronze Age collapse and after the Mycenaean collapse, with all these little new colonies setting up everywhere, that the closest connection between the Ionians and a mainland Greek area was that of Athens, right? Now, the response to this is the Ionians refuse to pay tribute and they start rebelling, right? But crazy thing about these rebellions is they start burning down towns, they refuse to pay taxes, they really start being a pain in the Persian butt, if you understand what I'm saying, right? So, secretly also, the Athenians are sending triremes and hoplites, and they're sending a lot of different military equipment to the Ionians to keep this revolt going. Now, why? I don't know. Most people really don't know, right? But for some reason, the Athenians saw Persia as a great threat, and they thought maybe the Ionian revolt would weaken them a little bit. But the problem is that that's not supposed to say the First Persian War. That's supposed to say the Ionian Revolt, all right? This is supposed to say the Ionian Revolt. It's one little thing I missed. Now, the biggest result of this is Darius the First, not the son of Cyrus the Great, which is the first big Persian leader, but his bodyguard, right? Darius the First of Persia is just going to crush this rebellion, right? Something you got to realize as we look at history for the rest of the, eternity, right? Rebellions are typically easily suppressed, right? Typically, it's very easy to knock a rebellion out because your infrastructure is wildly more advanced than theirs, right? So now Darius the First is the leader of Persia during the Ionian Revolt. He crushes this rebellion. However, Sorry, there's a lizard watch going on right now. That's my wife's poodle, and she's obsessed with the fact that New Orleans is covered in lizards everywhere. And so she just sits in our window and just checks everything out. Rufio, come back here. Come here. So the big first Persian invasion is going to actually blow up. Fine, be that way. All right. So anyway, now the first Persian invasion, though, is going to be a direct result of this Ionian revolt, right? Due to the fact that the Persians want revenge, right, for Athenian interference. So because the Athenians interfered and sent the Ionians all this stuff, right, all these goods, these triremes, these boats that we'll talk about a little bit later, they want revenge, retribution, if you will. Also, legend says that Darius had a servant that used to come up and whisper in his ear every single morning while he was eating, "Master, remember the Athenians." Any of y'all ever held a grudge, right? We talked about this in my A period class. Some people hold grudges, and some people have friends that don't let them forget anything, right? This is one of those situations. So Darius is furious, right? DNF class, we're going to talk about this. You're going to add a little something to your notes during class or whatever. So, Josie, stop. Josie. Thank you. All right, so anyway, now, so Master remembered the Athenians. So the big thing is, as you can tell, there's a lot more distractions whenever I flip it home. Now, anyway, the big thing is, though, the first Persian invasion, which is what this goes with, the first Persian invasion, the big marquee battle is actually that at the Battle of Marathon, right? So the Persians try to invade mainland Greece by sea, okay? So they launch a bunch of boats out there to try and take over mainland Greece. Well, this is actually the first of two attempts. The first attempt for the Persians to invade actually failed miserably because the boats got caught in a storm and they all got wrecked and stuff like that. But when they sent the boats out again, they end up having a major engagement with the Athenians. It says outnumbered Greeks, but Athenians defeat the Persians when they're outnumbered almost 2-1. All right? Now, and this is at a place called the Battle of Marathon, right? Marathon is the area. It's the location, all right? So Marathon is a huge amount of flat land that's actually directly over a beach, all right? And so according to Herodotus, which is a very, very famous Greek historian, which we kind of always shake off a lot of his numbers as being just kind of mythical and a little bit too big, he says that 192 Athenians died, but they killed 6,000 Persians, which is a ridiculous number. You're talking about a 6-to-1 ratio, right? That the Greeks were that much more effective. Now, we do know a lot about Greek warfare already. We know that the hoplites had bronze or iron armor, right? Usually a chest plate, a shield, a spear, and a short sword, right? So we do know these things, and we do know they use that system called the phalanx very well, right? So here's how it kind of all resulted, though. This is a battle map of the Battle of Marathon. What apparently happened is the Greeks took a huge risk, and they lined up all of their divisions right here across this little bit of elevated ground, right? And the Persians were stuck because they couldn't go this way because there was a large river there. Couldn't go this way because there's a river. They also couldn't go this way because it was a swamp, right? So the Greeks believed they had them cornered, all right? So the thing that they did, the Greeks kind of swept their middle forces down. So these two were like divisions right here just went whoom and attacked the Persians head on, right? And then this enticed the Persians to charge in. And then what the Greeks did is they outflanked them and surround them, causing massive Persian confusion and a huge Persian retreat, right? And usually you kill a lot of people when they're in retreat. So there's a chance that the Greeks actually did kill a huge number of people. But the story goes that this is a very famous individual from the Battle of Marathon. This is the thing you don't even necessarily need to write down because everybody remembers it. But this guy's name is Phytopedes, right? So Phytopedes apparently was a Greek soldier at the Battle of Marathon that was entrusted to go ahead and run back to Athens and let them know that they had actually defeated the Persians, right? Because the Athenians were completely unprotected. They had sent their entire army to go fight the Persians off at the Battle of Marathon, and so they had all of these like civilians and farmers along the walls around Athens to make it look like it was heavily defended, but it was a big like fugazi. It was a big fake, right? So now, Phytopedes apparently runs 26.2 miles all the way back. It's the distance of a modern-day marathon race, right? The marathon is supposed to honor this battle. And he said, "Rejoice, we have conquered Nike," which Nike, I don't know if you know this, means victory. It's where the sports company gets its name from. Nike is the embodiment of victory and victorious actions in gods. They would put wings on their back. The check is supposed to be a wing. It's not supposed to be a check. Now, anyway, with that, it's supposed to be like the wings on the track shoe. So now, he said, "Rejoice, we have conquered," and then he just fell out in the middle of the floor and died. Now, to all my cross-country runners out there, I don't know how y'all do it, but personally, I think I would die if I ran 26 miles right now. So, Phytopedes, I feel you. Now, but he just went, and he just died, which is crazy. Now, the result of the first Persian invasion, all right, we're already more than halfway through this flip, okay? So the Greeks are going to build a massive fleet of faster ships to prepare for another Persian attack because they knew very, very well that, like, maybe Darius had been defeated, right? Darius the First of Persia never tried to invade the Greece mainland again. He was like, it's not worth it, whatever. We've got a huge empire. We'll live with it, right? There's this whole other thing with a guy named Cambyses, and like we ain't even going to get into it. But the Greeks are going to build a faster fleet of ships in case the Persians try to attack via the water, right, the sea. So the Athens is also going to ask for the city-states to form an alliance, the very first ever in Greek history, which is taking some major steps in the right direction. The creepy part about it is that there's one group of people we're leaving out. I know Kaylee right now is freaking out. She's like, what about the Spartans? How do they not be involved in this? All right, well, we're getting there, Kaylee. So the Spartans were slightly involved, right? The Spartans were not about to go out and outside of their borders, right? It's not their style. Spartans don't go out and venture out past their borders to fight anybody. If they find out you're coming for them, they're going to come after you, right? So the Spartans actually responded just like the Athenians. So Darius the First in the first Persian invasion, he sent ambassadors out, right? He sent ambassadors, much like the ambassador girls we have at our school, right? So he sent ambassadors out to go tell the Athenians and all the other Greek city-states and all the other Spartans that we are going to invade. And if you give up now, then we won't destroy your city and we're just going to pull you into the empire. Every single Greek city-state surrendered except for Athens and Sparta, who both executed the ambassadors and like sent that message back. So the Spartans weren't really involved in the first Persian invasion because the Persians never got very close, right? Because the Battle of Marathon kept them back. So thanks, Athens, I guess. Now, but the Athenians are going to build these things, right? Those are the vessels that they would build. These things are called triremes, right? T-R-I-R-E-M-E, a trireme. Now, a lot of you are like, well, how is this like a vessel that you can even use to attack anybody with? The big key is this guy right here. So that thing actually sits underneath the water. It's a bronze battering ram. So they would actually use the oars and the slaves underneath the boat to row as fast as possible, and they would ram other vessels, on top of also trying to board the vessels and then also fire arrows at them as much as possible. Now, the second Persian invasion is going to result because the Persians, again, want revenge. Now, this is not Darius anymore, all right? I need you to jot this guy's name down. This new guy is the son of Darius. His name is Xerxes, right? Xerxes. Xerxes, right? So now Xerxes is a nut job, right? Xerxes is crazy. Xerxes is not like Darius and Cyrus that came before him. Darius the First and Cyrus the Great were considered phenomenal leaders, right? They were considered by the Jews and the Hebrews to be anointed ones. They were considered by by the people they had conquered to be polite and kind and tolerant, right? So Xerxes, on the other hand, is a little bit crazy. Xerxes believes that he's a god, right? Tries to defend and like protect Persia as a dictator, right? Very, very mean guy. And he's also very, very superstitious, and he's a little nuts, right? So he actually had these bridges built over this place called Hellensport, right? Which actually got, like, he had man-made bridges of boats built to cross a body of water so they could invade Greece by land, right? While doing this, though, the first bridge kind of got flooded out and messed up because the water was rising and lowering. So he ordered his soldiers to go out and whip the river 300 times with like a bullwhip because that would keep it at bay. The soldiers did it, but they were like, dude, this guy's nuts. So anyway, now, but the Persians want revenge, and Xerxes wants revenge, so they come after Athens by land and by sea. So the Xerxes sends out boats, and he sends out foot soldiers by land, right? Unfortunately, in this process, Athens is burned, right? So Athens gets burned to the ground because he had no chance, or like the Athenians had no chance of stopping a siege twice, right? And they got burned because they actually left. The Athenians heard they were coming by land and by sea, and they were like, there's no way we're going to be able to stand up to this. We just fought one war against them. So they actually ran away to a small island called Salamis, right? So now, the major battles, though, in the second Persian invasion, the big one, is the Battle of Thermopylae, right? So the Battle of Thermopylae is crazy, all right? So the Battle of Thermopylae was led by the Spartan king Leonidas, right? So Leonidas is considered to be one of the greatest figures in all of Greek history. He is considered to be the man. Even though, ironically enough, Hollywood wants you to think he looked like Gerard Butler, had an 18-pack and was really, really swole. He was actually 60 when this fight went down. But he's a genius, and he was like, look, The Persians are on their way. There are 200,000 of them. We only have 6,000 troops ready to go. So we need to use geography to our advantage. And at the Battle of Thermopylae, King Leonidas set up a phalanx in a narrow passageway, right? At Thermopylae, there's ocean on one side and huge mountains on the other. So they set the phalanx up in this narrow little passageway, so when the Persians were attacking, they were getting bottlenecked. They could only let through so many at a time, or else they would drown, or else they would get crushed by the mountains, right? So the Spartans just waited for them there, and were just, grah, 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 and just like destroyed over 50% of the Persian forces, right? Even though they were heavily outnumbered. And they all died there. Every single Spartan soldier fought to the death, and every single one of them died. Now, the legend says that it was actually 1,000,000 Persians and only 300 Spartans, but that's not true. The movie, 300's made about it, but there is one element to the movie that is actually true. The Persians only ended up winning. They would have lost to these Spartans. These Spartans would have killed all of them had the Persians not been told by a Greek traitor, traitor, as in somebody who stabs you in the back, that there was a pass, a small goat path that went through the mountains, and they came around behind the Spartans and eventually got them, right? Which is so messed up. But anyway, the second Persian invasion, though, so the Persians were desperately hurt. They were really, really hurt by that Battle of Thermopylae, and so another major battle breaks out, right? So they know that the Athenians aren't there. They just hurt the Spartan army, right? So they were like, well, we got to destroy the Athenians. They're the ones that started this whole business in the first place. So Xerxes sends out his whole Persian fleet to that island where the Athenians ran away to, Salamis, right? Now, outside of Salamis, there's this place called the Strait of Salamis, which is a narrow passageway of water. And the Athenians did the same thing. They lured the Persians into a narrow, shallow body of water and then surrounded them and attacked them and sunk the entire fleet, right? Another one later was the Battle of Plataea, which is not nearly as interesting as the other two, I think, which is a year later when the final Persian forces were defeated, right? So the biggest results, though, of all of these invasions is Athens, of course, is going to increase its status among the city-states because they came out the most on top, right? So because they ran away. What a bunch of punks. All right, so now Athens increases its status among the city-states, and Athens also seeks to form a permanent alliance with the city-states, but they want to be in charge of it, right? So remember, it's not just Athens and Sparta. There's tons of other Greek city-states. Corinth, Megara, that's just to name a few. There's some in the Cyclades, right? So they're all over the place. Now, Athens wants to unite all those places together and have a military alliance, but they want to be in charge of it, right? Sparta is not happy about this, right? Sparta is not happy about the fact that Athens has now found new authority, right? So the Spartans and the Athenians never agreed on this. And so without the Spartan consent, Athenians form this thing, the Delian League, right? Jot that down and underline it and circle it 18 times. The Delian League was an alliance headed by Pericles of Athens, which we're going to talk about tomorrow or Tuesday in class, to defend from further Persian invasion, right? So, and also to spread their influence and ideas. Athens was trying to pull Persia, right? Athens was trying to conquer other areas with other Greeks at their back and trying to be in charge of a big Greek country or an empire, right? So, and Sparta knew what they were up to. Sparta was like, this is ridiculous, because Athens, on top of that, was collecting money from all the other member states and using it to rebuild their city and promote their government style. So that's where we're going to leave off, right? So we know that there's some tension between Sparta and Athens, and that's the Persian invasions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys later. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend.